Being an indie game developer usually means that you'll have to cover pretty much every task that goes into making a game, or every element that goes into making a game, unless of course you're on a team. But as a solo indie game dev myself, I wanted to do a ranking of everything that I have to do that makes a game function and to go from start to finish. So in this video, I'm going to be covering all the different aspects that go into making a game and ranking them based on difficulty and enjoyment. So to go straight into it, we're going to start with animation. Animation is, in my opinion, one of those things I hate about game development. There's going to be a lot of hate in this video, I think. But I've been recently trying to learn how to do Blender's animation system, which is okay and it works, but not having done animation before, trying to get a walk cycle to work for a non-humanoid character is incredibly difficult. But as time has gone on, I think I'm getting a bit more used to it, especially learning how keyframes can be interpolated differently. Previously, they were on a vector, which means they kind of go from one position to the other in a straight line. But then I learned that automatic interpolation exists, which is like a curved motion, which therefore makes it look a bit more natural and fluid. This is what takes a long time to make an asset finished. It's the final thing that goes into making the asset, at least for the ones that I make. And get it. But then again, saying that, when importing that into Unreal Engine, it's not too bad. It's very easy to use. They have a very good blend space system, and animation blueprints are very easy to use. So for that reason, I will give it a B. I think it's about a mid-range in terms of difficulty. It's quite a difficult thing to get used to. It's a very steep learning curve, which I still don't think I've got to yet. But saying that, once you've got it, it's not only a thing that makes your game stand out from others, and especially with 3D animation, it is a very difficult thing to do. So the difficulty is high, but I'd say, and enjoyment is quite low to begin with, but it gets better as time goes on. But having to individually pose every single bone takes away the enjoyment quite a lot. So for that, it's going to get a B tier. Now, by the way, these icons are awful. But I will explain what each one is as we go through them. But next up is art. Now, all of my games are 3D, so I can only really talk about 3D art, but I can kind of say how I feel about 2D art as well, having done like one or two drawings in my life or something like that. But I'm only focused on 3D modeling. So as a prime Blender user, best 3D modeling software out there, I love it. I really do enjoy the 3D making, the modeling process, and that. So to start off, I would give it an A. But then you have to do UV unwrapping, and that takes it down to a B. And then you have texturing, which takes it back up to an A, because texturing is quite enjoyable. I really do enjoy texturing and getting it all done. But UV unwrapping, this might be an S tier if it wasn't for UV unwrapping. But being able to make something in a software that is literally free, I think it at first is a little bit of a difficulty curve. Like learning Blender, learning any software takes time to learn all the controls. And with 3D modeling especially, it's quite difficult to get used to the whole idea of extruding things and scaling. And something I only recently discovered is applying transforms fixes everything. If you're ever wondering why your UV is stretched or your vertices or faces are all stretched, reset the transform, apply transform. It's Control A on Windows. Oh my God, it makes everything so much easier. I spent years not knowing that was even a thing, and I was wondering, why are all my textures stretched? Why are all my models awful? It's because of apply transform. So that took years to figure out for me, and so that in my eyes shows the difficulty is quite high. But saying that, anybody can pick up 3D modeling, especially because of how easy it is to access Blender as a free open source software. As for enjoyment, again, I think I just said this, but I really do enjoy it because making assets great. So it's going in A tier, so I'm going to leave it in A tier. Now, I've written the order, this is terrible. Next is back-end development. So when I say back-end development, I can't really code. So this is more to do with what goes into putting your game onto Steam. Now, the Steam backend stuff is okay. It was very confusing at first. I've made 2 games now and uploaded the 2 to Steam. This one, it was a little bit easier, but even though I'd done it once completely, it was still very difficult to learn how to do it. And the whole SDK uploads system is a little bit outdated, but nonetheless, it does still work. Enjoyment wise, it's a D tier. It's so boring. And if I was going to say, but it means like, you've done it, you put a game on Steam. Well, that comes into a different topic that we'll talk about later. But for the actual process that goes into it, not only is it difficult, but it's not enjoyable. And for that reason, it's getting a D tier. Now, community management, I do quite enjoy. I don't really do a whole lot of it. Every now and again, I'll message on the Discord, see how things are going. Same with YouTube, like posts and stuff. I don't really have much of a community at the moment, so there's not much to manage. But as things grow, I'm sure that will change. So in terms of difficulty, there's not really that much to say about difficulty there when there's not many people. I don't see the management part becomes an issue until there's like thousands of people that you're having to make sure don't like spam your chat and stuff like that. But I do really enjoy it. I do really enjoy when I get to talk to people in the Discord and on YouTube and other game developers. It's a really nice experience. So enjoyment-wise, it's getting a B tier. Difficulty is also very low. At the current state, it's not that hard. So for that, it's on a B tier. It's on a B tier. Ideation is the next one. And ideation, the stuff that goes into thinking of a game can be a hit or miss. Sometimes I love doing ideation. I think like I can sit there for ages and just be like, right, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then comes in scope. And then comes in limitations. And whilst that can be good, making a game and thinking up a game with constraints often builds fantastic games. You look at Pac-Man, you look at other games like that, Space Raiders, there's another one, and Tetris. They were all built with the limitation of software. Software isn't really the issue anymore, considering how well Unreal Engine and Unity, they're game engines. You don't need to do the whole back-end stuff. You haven't got to build a game engine from scratch, which would be very difficult. I would never do that, as an indie game developer at least. And saying that, I think that ideation can therefore be very fun because you're not restricted by computers or software, sorry. What you are restricted by as an indie game developer is time. If you try to make an RPG, everyone said that, every indie game developer YouTuber says this, but I will say it again. Making an RPG, something like that, an MMO, is a terrible idea because it will take 5 years off your life, and say it's your first game, there's a lot of mistakes will get made throughout that process and it won't do well. And it certainly won't be enough to sustain yourself for 5 years and then however long after that it takes to make your next game. So anyway, I've lost the train of thought again. Okay, ideation, difficulty, hit or miss. It can be kind of either or. If you are creative, the whole reason if you're an indie game developer probably means you're creative. So the actual thinking of different ideas doesn't come as a challenge. It does come as a challenge when you have to put those ideas under restraints. And that puts the difficulty up quite a bit. But for enjoyment wise as well, really very enjoyable. You have literally got free reign to make whatever you want. Any game that you like, you can make it. So for that reason, it's going in A tier. Finishing games is a very difficult thing. Probably the most challenging thing about game development is to finish the thing you're making. Along the way, there's a lot of things that will make you want to stop doing it, like you're coming to a bug or something, or you won't see a lot of views and stuff on your videos about devlogs. And if you let that get to you, you won't make the game, and then you'll never even have the chance to become an indie game developer. However, if you push through all that and you do finish the game and you put it out there, the enjoyment and the satisfaction of knowing no matter what you do, no matter what the game is like, the fact that you finished a game is a fantastic feeling, and one that is a very good motivating factor to pursue, to continue and be persistent throughout the game development process. As for difficulty, finishing a game, as I just said, is the most difficult thing about game development, in my opinion. I think trying to get through every single thing and making it all be consistent with each other and, what's the word? And all come together in the end as I can't think of the word. Basically, it's very difficult. So it's for that reason, I think I would put it would go in S tier for enjoyment, D tier for difficulty. So I think honestly B tier, but I think the satisfaction and what you get from finishing a game is so enjoyable and so worth it that it kind of negates the difficulty aspect. So it's going in A tier as well. This is marketing. It's again, terrible icons. Marketing games, I think, is very challenging. I'm really struggling with it. I mean, I would never get a publisher because I personally don't trust them. I don't see the point unless you have like a family to look after. Like, in my opinion, my whole metric for how indie game development will work for me is I have a job, and that job pays for my life not on the side, but the main thing I do is games. As soon as a game does well, you leave that job, or you can stay in it to make double money. That's probably what I'll do. I don't see a point in leaving when you can do both at the same time. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so marketing then comes down to the issue of marketing. It is marketing we're talking about. Oh my god. Anyway, so marketing, difficulty-wise, very difficult in my opinion. I think trying to get people to play your game, that's a form of marketing. Trying to do YouTube devlogs, that don't really get that many views, very hard to do. But saying that, it can be done well if you do viral, if you do shorts and stuff like that. I mean, I don't really have a lot of experience in marketing. My experience is making devlogs, making trailers. And speaking of, actually, if we were to include making trailers into marketing, which is something that I do have experience in now, I think making trailers can be quite challenging at first. Originally, I tried making the trailer for Powerful. I did make the trailer for Powerful directly in Unreal, and I tried to use their level sequencer system, and of really good quality, but it's very challenging to get the angles right. Whereas with the game trailers that I make now, I basically put the cinematic mode on, go into like the free camera, and then just look around and then follow and do the kind of free camera movements to get as much like clips as I can to put into the trailer. As for the music side of things, though, I think that's still quite a challenge, like trying to line up the things with the clips of the music to make it all sound coherent. Coherent is the thing I was meant to say earlier, by the way. Making for the finishing one, making a coherent product is quite difficult. Anyway, marketing, difficult, yes, very. And enjoyment, I mean, for some, like making devlogs is very fun. I enjoy making devlogs, but it's not so enjoyable when you see don't get many views and stuff like that. So I think C tier for marketing. Narrative design is going straight in D tier. No. That's a little bit too fast. I used to really love narrative. My other job is a writer. I do a lot of editing work and stuff like that for writing and making stories, specifically the horror variety or genre. And I think the narrative can be fun in a non-game sense, but making a narrative coincide with gameplay, I personally find very challenging. And I think that all the games that I've tried to make a narrative for end up overwhelming the gameplay aspect and therefore making the game kind of shit. So, and then we have playtesting. Playtesting is something, or Q&A even. Playtesting, I didn't do it at all for Powerful, which is stupid. You should always playtest. And it's something that I'm only just starting to do now for Avalanche and Onslaught, which is my current game, which I will have an announcement for at the end of this video. But basically, with playtesting, I think it's hard to get a lot of playtesting done. Like, you can get your friends to do it and stuff, but to actually get a group of 200 people or something to play your game and to give useful feedback to then use is quite difficult. And it is not very enjoyable, obviously not enjoyable, watching people be like, okay, this part of your game is terrible, fix it, remove it. You get a lot of criticisms. And at the same time, people might enjoy your game. If people enjoy your game, satisfaction, how enjoyable it is very high. But in terms of difficulty to get people to play your game is, I think, quite challenging. So I'd say it's not D tier, it's not that bad, but C tier is, I think, the word thing. Now, this is what I really wanted to talk about, is programming. Now, I have used C# in Unity, and I hated it. So I'm going to, if I was going to say that, it'd be going D tier. I despise coding. It's awful. But then blueprints exist. Now, originally, I never wanted to be a game developer because coding, I can't do. I've tried. It's so difficult to do, to get used to it and all the syntax. However, Unreal's blueprint system, which can be used purely and on its own to make an entire game, as shown by Choo Choo Charles, I therefore do enjoy programming. In fact, programming is probably the most enjoyable part of making a game for me if we are using Unreal's blueprints. And for that, the difficulty, it was high at first, but now that I know all of the nodes and stuff and I've done it enough, the difficulty is quite low. and the enjoyment of like fixing a problem and coming up with your own system, it is astronomical. And for that reason, programming is going to get an S tier. Then we have sound design, D tier, hate it, can't do it. I don't really want to talk about it. I'm just bad at it. I've tried doing like LMMS and Audacity and things like that, and I just find it I struggle with it so much. But I think it's in the enjoyment, there's no enjoyment. Difficulty is really high, and I have absolutely no experience in music. I mean, as soon as I make money from indie game development, like significantly, the only person I would want to hire would be a sound designer, because it's something I don't really want to do. I don't want to near it. Obviously, this is all very opinionated, by the way. I know people do like sound, but I hate it. UI design is next. UI design, meh. It's kind of a very C tier, kind of B tier, C tier, B tier, C tier for now. I think C tier lower end. No. B tier lower end. I think UI can be fun. And like if you enjoy it, then I mean, good for you. But I think it's difficult to make a good UI, like a user interface, and to make it flow well and to make it intuitive. Like anyone can just make a button, slap it in the middle of the screen, and yeah, the player will see it. But what if you put that button in the bottom left of the screen and had something else going on around it? You'd think about the player's view space, like what are they seeing versus what's on the perimeter? Are the buttons on the perimeter or the UI on the perimeter and stuff like that? And making it, I mean, I use Adobe Illustrator for UI, which is not something you should do. You should use Figma if you really want to be a good UI designer or maker or user interface experience person. But I don't know. It's quite hard and challenging to make a successful and very efficient UI. But at the same time, it's also not difficult to make a button do something as well. And the enjoyment is about a mid. It's like, if it looks nice, and it's great. But if it doesn't look nice, it's like, well, does it work? And then come down to that. So I think B tier makes sense. And finally, this one you're probably wondering, what is it? Is it a court order? Is it legal? I personally don't really know if that legal. I should be considering legal. I'm an indie game developer. I'm still a student at university, so I don't think legal really matters currently, or setting up a company. However, a work-life balance, and you can think it's a balancing thing, and so work-life balance is very, very, very challenging. I think it's probably second most hardest thing to do with indie game development specifically, and game development in general. So much work goes into making a game, as we can see based on all of these different factors, that if you don't let your life, you have to avoid your life being taken over by it, because sure, that will work for a few months, but if you get burnt out and you put all of your time, all of your effort, you sacrificed everything for game development, and you end up hating it because you got burnt out, then it's kind of over. And what are you going to do? You have to go back and recover everything. It's a long process. I currently have an okay work-life balance. I work half the day and then sleep. Yeah, no, I'm joking. I work decent amount. I do at least 3 hours to 4 hours a day on game development, and a couple hours in other things like my job and gym and stuff like that. But as for game development, and then socializing in the evening seems to be the best way to do it currently. And when I was still I finished uni for this year, but when I was going to uni, it was a lot harder to manage multiple projects at once. But managing one project at once, which is what most indie game developers are doing, hopefully, is a lot easier, I think. But still, I mean, when you are an indie game developer and it's your game and you have so much connection to it, all you're thinking is about the game. Like, you'll be at a social setting and you'll be thinking, that bug is kind of annoying. How do I fix it? And you'll be going through, trying to test it in your head. Okay, what if I use this method to test it, to fix it, and etc. like that. So therefore, difficulty-wise, it can be very difficult depending on how many things you've going on in your life. But if you can get it right, it can be a very great experience, and therefore the enjoyment of it can be about middle ground. But I think middle ground suits it the best. Now, okay. Are we going to move any? Oh my god, I've touched the screen. Am I going to move any of this around? I honestly think I do really enjoy art and programming about the same, which is very helpful, luckily. And I mean, sound design isn't that much of a D tier. No, you know what? Playtesting is a D tier. Sound is a bottom of C tier, I think. Makes the most sense. And is there anything else? Animation could maybe drop down. No, I think that makes the most sense. Now, on to the announcement. So this weekend, I was meant to be running playtest for my game Appalachian Onslaught. Yeah, if you were only here for the ranking video, this is where the ranking video ends. This is where I talk about my game and some of that. So if you have enjoyed this video, then thank you very much for watching and I'll see you later. But if you're here to hear about game development, then I have an announcement for my game Appalachian Onslaught. It's a tower defense where you play as a tribe defending a mountain pass from a bunch of cryptids that are coming from the forest. And you can build towers, build spawners, build an army, and upgrade everything to fend off the endless waves of Cryptalian onslaughts. So, I'm going to do playtesting this weekend, and I had everything ready, and then I got to Friday, and I was going to post it on Steam, and then because Steam is playtesting, but then I realized that there's a 3 to 5 day wait period, which I didn't take into account, because I didn't think it would matter for playtesting, but it does. So therefore, I was thinking, right, okay, I have a better idea. Instead of doing just a playtesting, I'm going to release the demo for Appalachian Onslaught this Friday. Now, you could argue that, no, don't release your demo if it's not been playtested before, but I am going to take the probably very bad idea of using the demo to playtest the game. Demo you can update regularly and you can get feedback on them, so my plan is to, release it this Friday, have people play it, which will also boost it for when the next fest comes out, because by next fest I want to have a good demo, and currently I think the demo is very much well enough to play, and I need some feedback to make sure everything is smooth and so I can polish. But as the game stands, everything I want is pretty much finished. I will go into more in next week's devlog. I didn't want to make a devlog this week because I think that making a devlog every single week, you start running out of things to talk about. And the main things that I have done this week have been to do with sound and to do with a new build mode system. But it's not enough to show to make an interesting video yet. So that'll be next week, hopefully. And also when the devlog, the demo is released. So if you're looking forward to that, then please do give it a wish list on Steam. And apart from that, that is the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. It's been a very rambly video. I love rambling though. So yeah. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all later.